Hey, welcome back to I Could Be Wrong, everybody. I'm here with my good buddy Tori Ziska, aka President of the Aaron Rodgers Fan Club. How are you this evening, sir?
I'm well. Good to be with you, my friend.
I'm glad to have you on. I know it's been a hit and miss thing with you. I know you're pretty busy, so I appreciate you taking the time. Tonight, we're going to do a preseason fan pulse check with Tori's favorite team, his beloved Green Bay Packers. Before we get started with the questions I sent you, Tori, I'm going to ask you the same question I've asked pretty much everybody. What is the reason that what made you become a Packers fan?
For me, it was just growing up rooting for whoever my dad rooted for. I would always watch sports with him, so I was a Packers fan. He was a Packers fan and a Raiders fan, and so I was as well. The Raiders got their asses kicked in a Super Bowl, and I kind of jumped ship at that point and stayed with Brett Favre and company. And he was a Notre Dame fan, a Lakers fan, and an Oakland A's fan. So those were all my teams, and then Arizona got their own baseball team. So I said sayonara to his baseball team, but and the Raiders. But otherwise, all his teams, and he's from New York, so that hodgepodge of teams doesn't make sense for him either. But that's why I root for those teams.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Same story with me. My dad was a fan of the Celtics, 49ers, and Mets when I was a little kid. Believe it or not, I was a Mets fan before I just quit liking. Well, I like baseball, but I don't have a favorite team. But I used to be a Mets fan, and then when Darryl Strawberry went to the Dodgers, I was a Dodgers fan for a little while. But same story with me. That's why I'm a 49ers fan. Okay. I just wanted to – I've always wondered that. I never asked you. I don't know why. Living in Arizona, what would make you a Packers fan? I thought maybe you were a snowbird or something. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm getting up there in age.
All right. Tell me about it. All right. So let's bring it back to the present. First question. How would you grade the Packers offseason, and why would you give it that grade?
Well, I mean, re-signing Rodgers, no matter how expensive it was, that was a huge win. Seeing Jordan Love in one game was more than enough to know he's not the answer, at least not yet. Maybe he will be. And there may be signs now that he's turning into that, but not yet. If I was going to give them an actual grade, I would give them an A. But had you asked me this question in March, it would have been an F. Trading away Devontae Adams kind of took away a bit of my soul. But the more info that came out about that, it became obvious he didn't want to play there. And he really just wanted to play for the Raiders. So there was nothing Green Bay could have done. I don't even think he would have played on the franchise tag. So being able to get a couple of picks for him and then obviously saving all of that cap space allowed them to sign a lot of their internal guys. So losing and potentially the best receiver in football, but keeping your quarterback and being able to sign a lot of your guys, they did the best that they could. So I would give them an A.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. I think I agree with you that we probably asked this question in spring. It'd probably be a much lower grade. But you're right. Anytime you can re-sign, one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the whole NFL, you had a successful offseason, no matter which way you slice it. I also agree that, it definitely hurts you guys losing Devontae Adams. But I also agree that there's probably not anything they could have done. It's pretty evident that he just wanted to go play with Derek Carr, and being a Raider is something that he's always wanted to do as a kid, apparently. So kudos to him. And he got paid on top of that. So good job for him. And we'll see how it works out. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So A. All right. Okay. Let's move on to the next question here that I sent over. Of the new additions to the Packers roster, which one or which ones are you the most excited about?
Well, as usual, they didn't sign hardly any free agents. That's basically status quo in Green Bay. They did sign a defensive lineman, Jaron Reed, who I think will be good, but I'm not sure. I would say I'm super excited necessarily about him. The obvious answer, I think, for anyone that follows the Packers would be Christian Watson, the guy they drafted. Still not in the first round, but nonetheless a pretty highly drafted receiver. But for the past, I would say 6 weeks or so, it's actually their 4th round receiver, Romeo Doubs, that I've been very excited about. Even before training camp started, he was impressing a lot of people, and that has continued during training camp. He scored a touchdown in their first game. And in one of their practices, he was matched up against corner Eric Stokes that the Green Bay had drafted last year. And he is, if he's not the fastest corner in football, he's in the top three. He ran a 4.2 40. And Dobbs was matched up against him, and he blew past him for a touchdown in practice. And I know it's practice, and I know the corner's a second year, but he played a lot of snaps last year. He is a very good corner, and he just got roasted. So I don't believe Dobbs ran at the combine, so we weren't really sure necessarily how fast he was, and he's blown people away. He's got good size. There's a lot to like. It sounds like some of the rookies have been dropping a lot of passes lately in practice. I don't know if he's one of those. So that could be problematic, but all signs are that he's the one to be excited about.
Yeah, I like it. Obviously, I'm a 49ers fan. I love to watch the 49ers play, even though it was preseason. I did watch the game. He did have some nice plays. He had the one play where they ruled it an interception after there was a little bobble, but he did have a nice game overall. I believe he had a drop or two in practice, is what I was reading the other day. But I think, like you said, all of the young receivers have had some issues. So I also read when I got home today that the receivers and the quarterbacks had a meeting today. So hopefully that irons some things out. But I think that's spot on from everything I've been hearing. Obviously, Justin was raving about him a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about surprise fantasy guys. And I think he has an opportunity to burst on the scene and have a pretty solid year. So, yeah, I definitely like that guy. I thought his last name was Dubes at first until everybody started calling him Dobbs.
Yeah, I mean, he came in probably the number 5 guy. I mean, obviously, Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb, everyone knows. They signed Sammy Watkins, who is whatever. And then Christian Watson, their first pick. So those 4 are, you would assume, safe. So he was at best number 5. And even the guy they drafted in the 7th round sounds like he may be decent. So as funny as it sounds, their one off-season addition, Sammy Watkins, he may get cut, I have a feeling. And they may just go with a very young wide receiver core.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening. I mean, obviously, the big concern with Sammy Watkins is his health. It's hard for him. You don't see him stay on the field very often. Typically, he'll have an amazing week 1 and blow it up for somebody's fantasy team, and then after that, he just kind of fades off into obscurity. So, yeah, I can definitely see him being cut if they decide to go with the youth movement for sure.
Yeah.
All right, next one here, and I don't know if it's maybe the same guy or obviously you know the roster much better than I do, but overall, who's one guy on the Packers roster that most people don't know about, but they probably should?
Yeah, that's a tough question. As I think about their entire roster, I say to myself, well, everyone knows who that guy is, when in reality, I pay so much attention to that specific team that I just assume everyone else has the same knowledge, when obviously they don't follow Green Bay. If they're not a Packers fan, they don't follow Green Bay. So, or unless they're a diehard NFL fan. But there's a few guys I would say that people should know. Dobbs is one, so I'm going to skip over him since we just talked about him. On the defensive side, I think I would say it's Rashawn Gary. He took a big leap last year. He had 9.5 sacks as a linebacker, and he was kind of one of their key pieces on their uncharacteristically good defense. It's not something that they have had for the last couple of decades, and it was good last year, and it should be better this year. On the offensive side of the ball, I would say Alan Lazard. I know fantasy football players are going to be familiar with him, but I don't think the average NFL fan really knows who Alan Lazard is. And he's going to be their number 1, at least to start the season. And he's not Devontae Adams, and frankly, he's not even Jordy Nelson. But he's a guy that I think can go out and put up 1,200 yards and double-digit touchdowns and be a very legitimate receiver in the league. So, and they're going to need that from him. If they're going to be good, they're going to need him to put up numbers like that. So those are the 2 guys I would say.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. I definitely agree with you regarding Lazard. I think that obviously fantasy players are going to know his name. But again, the average NFL fan may not know him as well. I think they're definitely going to change that by the end of the season. Obviously, when you have Aaron Rodgers throwing you the ball, it's going to help. And when you're his number 1 guy at this point, that's going to help even more. So, yeah, I definitely could see him becoming not quite a household name, but pretty close by the end of the year for sure.
Yep.
All right, next one here. Talk to us about the schedule. Obviously, we all want to watch all the games, but which games are you most excited to watch? Which ones are can't miss games for you?
So I would say there's three main games that I kind of have circled. I actually planned on going to two of them, but only one of them is going to actually happen. They have a week 3 game in Tampa. We all assume that's probably the final Rodgers Brady game, unless they happen to face in the playoffs this year. Tampa's still a major threat. Obviously, the last 2 times we faced them did not quite go as planned. Another one that I've got circled is I think it's a week 15 Monday night game against the Rams. Obviously, they're the defending champions. That's a team that Green Bay has played very well the last few years, which is one reason that the loss to the Niners was so painful, because it really felt like we would beat the Rams and get to the Super Bowl, because we had beaten them that season. We'd beaten them in the playoffs the year before. We just kind of had their number, even though they're a very talented team. And then the one, if I had to pick one, it would be, I believe it's a Sunday night game. I think that's the one I'm going to. I think it's a Sunday night game on Halloween Eve against the Buffalo Bills. In my opinion, those two teams could have the two best defenses in football. I think the Bills definitely do. And I think the Packers, if they're healthy, have a chance to be in the top two. Both teams have elite quarterbacks, and both teams have been knocking on the door of the Super Bowl for the past couple of years. So I think that will be a very good game. I don't have a great feeling necessarily about Green Bay winning that game, but, I can hope for a rematch in February where they do come out on top.
All right, yeah, I like it. I'm looking at the schedule. I didn't really look over the schedule a whole lot, but I'm looking at it. Yeah, obviously the Bucks game. That's going to be a good one, especially like you said. Looks like it's going to be the last time that Brady and Rodgers probably play. I love it. LA, big game, of course. That could determine home field advantage. Who knows? Depending on what their records are at that point in the season. Buffalo, obviously, the young gun, Josh Allen, going against the old vet, Aaron Rodgers. I hope you have a lot of fun at that game. I'm sure you will. I'm actually going to the Christmas Day game here in Arizona when hopefully Tom Brady's still playing, and I get to watch him. It's last time here in Arizona. So, all right, cool. Yeah, I'm looking at your schedule though. There's some exciting games on there. I mean, the Cowboys game should be a fun game to watch. I'm really excited. I think it'd be a good measuring stick for the Philadelphia Eagles when they play the Packers to see how good they are. I anticipate they're going to. I actually picked them to win the NFC East. I think they're going to be a very tough team. So I think that's going to be an exciting game as well. So yeah, I'm almost as excited to watch your games as I am mine, just so I can talk crap to you the next day. All right. Last question I have for you here. You just mentioned it. You guys have made it to 2 of the last 3 NFC Championship games, and we're very close to making it to a 3rd straight. And I agree with you. I think if you probably would have beaten the Rams, just like the 49ers should have beaten the Rams. But looking at this year, what do you feel is the Packers' ceiling, and what do you think it'll take? What needs to happen for them to reach it?
Yeah, I mean, I know it's going to sound like a homer answer, but it's really not meant to be. As you said, they've been a Super Bowl contender for essentially the last 3 years, and I don't really see that changing this year. We all recognize that the offense is going to take a step back, or we expect it to take a step back, maybe even 2 steps back. But most people don't realize, or the average NFL fan doesn't realize, how talented their defense is. Not only was it very good last year, they added 2 Georgia guys in the first round this year who I expect to contribute right away. It will really just come down to injuries on that side of the ball, as it usually does. And it's the only defense in the entire NFL that doesn't have a single starter over the age of 30. Or I'm sorry, every starter is under 30. So everyone's in their 20s, which, it can have its cons because they're very young, but they've all essentially played together for a couple of years. So if they're healthy, they easily have a Super Bowl caliber defense. And if you have Aaron Rodgers, that's all you really need is a Super Bowl caliber defense, and you've at least got a shot. So, and playing in the NFC will help. The path to the Super Bowl is not as daunting in the NFC as it will be in the AFC. Whether or not they can beat one of those 7 or 8 AFC teams that have a shot, we'll see. But their ceiling is the Super Bowl. I don't know if they're going to get there, but they certainly have the ability.
Yeah, I don't think that's a homer answer. I know obviously a lot of people may think so, but I agree with you. Your defense was one of the best last year. and barring injuries, I anticipate that'll probably be the same this year. And then, of course, like you said, you have Aaron Rodgers, you're going to have a puncher's chance at the very least. And he makes guys better. So I think that you have a very good shot to get there. You know me, I would love for it not to happen at the hands of the 49ers. That would be great once again. But I definitely, I think that, I agree with you. I think that's their ceiling. And if they can stay injury free and get a few bounces their way, which every championship team needs, they could definitely be hoisting the Lombardi in February for sure. Hopefully they don't, though. Did I say that out loud? Oh, my bad. All right. So that's all we have for this round. If I could be wrong, I want to say thanks again, Tori, for jumping on. I know you're very busy, so I appreciate the time you took. Hopefully I can get you on at some point during the season. I think we were talking about doing some, top 5 rankings. I'd appreciate it. Take a few minutes. We can debate those, and I can tell you how wrong you are. You tell me how right I am. That'd be awesome.
Okay, Stephen.
Other than that, I want to thank everybody for watching. Hopefully you keep doing so. Again, as always, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Be on the lookout for more content. And last but not least, please be kind, even to Cowboys fans.